Welcome to the sixth episode of our podcast series, Big Data, Big Challenges, and Big Real Success. My name is Anna Przybył, and I will be your host. Speaking from a business perspective, I will ask my guests, experts in the data and AI field, questions as they share their insights, real-world challenges, and professional experiences. I hope this will provide valuable knowledge from different perspectives. These podcasts are made possible thanks to the boutique company Sofixit, which specializes in data and AI-related projects, services, and solutions such as data lakes and data lakehouses. Sofixit is also known for their non-profit initiatives, which have a positive impact on the entire industry. So, it's worth following their LinkedIn channel. Today, we will talk about a crucial and very timely topic: how data culture relates to data governance and AI-ready data. In today's rapidly evolving digital landscape, companies are eager to harness the power of artificial intelligence. However, success in AI doesn't start with algorithms. It starts much earlier with the quality of the data and the culture that supports managing it effectively. Building a strong data culture is essential for successful data governance, and both are critical foundations for delivering AI solutions that can truly drive business value well. To help us explore this important topic, I'm delighted to welcome my guest, Peter Mikeśka. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Anna. Thanks for inviting.
Thank you for being here with us. Well, could you tell us a few words about yourself and your place in the data world?
Yeah, so I'm greeting you from Prague, where I'm leading the team of DAWISO, and we are the company building a product that's focused on data governance, helping clients to locate, understand, interpret, and trust data at scale. And I'm talking to you because we both are linked to Sofixit, and the sponsor of the podcast. It's our partner for Poland. So I'm happy to be here at this podcast.
It's great to have you here as well, because this topic is quite close to you. And I think that we will get to know a lot about data governance and data culture today. So, Peter, if we may start, could you tell me a few words why companies must invest in data governance if they want to unlock the real potential of AI? Because AI is now like the quite hype topic.
Yeah, it's maybe good to not speak about governance, because who is not involved in this will not like it so much. Data governance sounds like something what the regulatory body needs, and it's linked to some legal requirements or something like that. So it's better to talk about data culture, and about this means about processes that are linked to managing the data, like understanding where the data is, how is it described, who is the owner, who can access it, what is the quality of the data, how harmonized are the definitions of the data across the whole data landscape. And that's something what's quite crucial for leveraging the data use by AI, I would say. I'm sharing a lot the story of a librarian of a library that companies sometimes are behaving in very naive manner in managing the data. And if you can imagine any library, you will not find one without proper governance, how to manage the books in the library. It's not without any organization practices of how to put the books on the shelves, to find it, how to catalog it. So if you link it, this analogy, to the company, it's quite often that companies doesn't exactly know what data they have and who is the owner and who can use it. And if you, based on this situation, try to use AI, it will be quite inefficient, or it's quite typical problem of putting the trash in and having the trash out, or garbage out from the prompts you do with AI. So proper governance is quite crucial for AI-ready data. That's the term how it's called, to leverage AI over the company data.
Also, you do you believe that actually good librarians are like good data engineers? I mean, is it similar, that thanks to good management of data, like the management of books, we can make some basic concepts, maybe basic set of data that is well organized, and we can work on it, creating AI and building AI agents, and just having the knowledge of having proper data.
Typically, data engineers will not be the one who will be happy in following any rules. Yeah, they like to have a freedom. So these requirements, like defining at least some basic processes of governing the data assets, it's typically something what comes from some governance body or some management around data projects, or some enterprise architecture, or something that can understand the added value of the practice. So single engineer, he will be happy with undocumenting everything, but if you think about it, contributing into this better data culture is something what you do not for yourself typically, but for the others, and it will pay off when everybody does that. So there needs to be clear path how to explain it to the community, how to develop the practices and processes in a light manner that can be easily followed, not to put some complex processes, something what people will be afraid of and will try to steer somewhere around it, not to follow it.
So simplicity.
Yeah, simplicity is a key for these processes.
But what about idea of culture, that data culture that is present in the whole company? How we can achieve it? How is it possible to make people aware how to store the data, how to work with data, and not them be afraid of that or just have struggle with it?
Yeah, so there are several levels, and it's called data governance maturity levels, which the company can follow. And it's good to focus on the practical level that is somewhere in the middle. It's called the defined data governance practice. And it's not such a big deal. It's about the definition. For example, if there is some data that is stored somewhere, you understand who is the owner of the data. And there is a description. What is this data? How is the data defined? Where it comes from? There is the clear understanding of what is the quality of the data, but what is the timeliness of the data, for which business data is valid, for example. So these are very basic rules, and if it's applied in this minimal requirement, it's nothing what is very affordable or very laborious, so you can quite easily fulfill that. And there might be in the company also different areas where you apply different requirements of this data governance. So for example, if you have some very critical data area that works for creation of the regulatory reports, for example, that is used for calculation of the KPIs, that can be something what is very strictly governed. Yeah, but if it's something what is in the lab, in marketing department, maybe you can apply quite basic governance. Yeah. So it's about effectivity of applying proper governance level on proper data areas, I would say.
So do you adjust it to your needs, or do you just have to follow some, AI act, or what do you have to think about and take into account when thinking about these rules and the path you have to follow?
There are two different, I would say, views on that. One is if the company is somehow regulated, like financial institutions, they need to fulfill some requirements, so it's very well defined. Or maybe in AI Act, it's applied in general to the market and any domains of the businesses. So there is very defined approach of what you need to fulfill. You need to, for example, in AI Act, build this AI register of AI use cases that the company does. There is this AI assessment. So there's some regulatory requirements that in the end leads to some data governance practices that the company needs to do. But this applies to just few of the companies or some types of the companies. The other companies, the data governance implementation should follow the real business need. Yeah. So for example, if the company is bigger, there are tens of people in the data community working each day with data. There are several departments with people doing data analysis, working with data. Then they will struggle with maybe not understanding each other. somebody who is from finance department will understand the definition of the active customer differently than somebody from marketing department or risk department. Yeah, and maybe calculating the number of active customers will be different when you are talking to different teams. So that's something where maybe there can be a real business need to harmonize or agree on this definition and these context specifics differences. Or if there is thousands of reports on your Power BI tenant, then maybe you will start to be lost in what is the valid report. Can I access this report? You are developing the same reports many times. Applying some governance will bring really the benefit, and there can be some really calculated return on investment into better culture governance that you will apply to your business struggle.
Right, but how to do it? What internal changes are needed to shift organizational mindset to this approach, and how leaders can sell this change internally?
Yeah. So the crucial thing is that it needs to be supported from the top management, definitely. Yeah, that's something what is not good when it's just as the activity from the bottom. Yeah, because you need to involve the community. You need to work with the data owners and to give some responsibilities for their data. So it's good to have really support of typically the CDO, the guy who is responsible for the data as an asset in the company, for example. And if you focus, when you are introducing some improvement in data governance, if you focus on delivering some value that is visible to the community, like I mentioned, for example, if there is a mess in the reporting, that's something what the community will see as a pain. And if you solve it with bringing a catalog of all the reports that are available, the critical reports will be clearly visible, findable. You can have a very understandable link with your, for example, business glossary to find it easily. And then the community will see the value in that very quickly. And they will support you in continuing and enabling the practices for other domains, other parts of your whole data landscape. So the crucial is to understand the pains that are based on these poor governance practices and delivering the solutions to these pains gradually, not like doing the project for 2 years. Yeah, the small pain, deliver it, and then you can build on this success with the next step.
So what do you recommend as the first place to start such change? So where should we start to work with this? Which department or which, so I don't know, maybe some issue?
So if I should say statistically, because what is the most typical way, because it's each company is a little bit different and the problem is a little bit different. Statistically, typical pain is in the finance department calculating KPIs for the company. So because financial leaders are typically struggling to get all the data for all the KPIs, calculating that, understanding and agreeing on the definitions of these KPIs, metrics, and this. So good position who has really a pain with the poor data governance, data culture is typically the finance leader, like CFO or head of controlling, and typically it's linked with some reporting that is linked to KPIs. So that might be a good first thing to observe if there is the potential in improvement, or in general in the mess in the reporting. Yeah, it's very typical. The other very popular, I would say, core pain is not understanding of two departments or several departments talking about data. So this is called data literacy. That is starting to be a real trouble because companies are using data for decisions much more than it was a few years ago. So several different departments within the company are using the data, sharing some data insights, and if they share it across the company and there is not common understanding, there is not the common data literacy, it's a trouble. It's a real trouble. So they understand that they need to invest something into building some common glossaries, common semantic layer for the data to understand each other. So this is actually also a good good topic. And there is a lot of others, but it need to be inspected or analyzed, assessed in each company.
But definitely, starting with KPIs seems to be reasonable even when it comes to business, yeah? Because if they see the value in it, the people who are responsible for money, if they see it, then they can invest in other parts of the company. And so probably starting here seems to be quite reasonable, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. And if you have a buy-in from the business department like finance, it's the best to really push forward the adoption, make the changes. If you just do it as IT activity, it's much more complicated because data ownership is typically for business to be involved because data, it's typically owned by some business departments. You need to involve business users. They are the one who knows the business rules behind the data, and they have the business knowledge about what is exactly in the data. So we need to involve that. And if you don't find the struggle they have, it will be hard to convince them to be more involved in the governance processes.
Is it difficult to convince them to use data, or is it like the success story, when they see the value? I mean, they can create the reports, they can base their decisions on the data because they believe it. And then, you see that, they are convinced we can work with them. How it looks in practice?
Yeah, in practice, I think business is keen to work with data. In current days, they are very pushed to use data. You can find in every company's strategy that they are data-driven enterprises. So they want to use data. But to convince them to invest something into data governance, into describing the data assets they are using, it's sometimes difficult. So you have to find some ways and also think a little bit more also politically. If you are a CDO and you would like to improve the data governance maturity and across the whole company, it's good to think about gradual steps and also think politically who is the good partner to start with and who will be ready to do some changes and to adopt new processes. And if you have such early adopter, I would call it, then you will deliver the first success and they will help you to roll the snowball and to onboard other departments and other use cases. So also thinking politically, I would say, is something what is typically missed in these data governance adoption projects, and it's very crucial.
Probably, there are always people behind.
It's about people.
Yeah, all about people. Yeah. Okay, and it's but it seems quite important, to work with people because they have the information, they have the knowledge what they need, what is actually necessary for their work, how you can improve somehow using this data in the future. Because of course, data is something basic for just automation and using AI and helping you in everyday work. And actually, do you see, that advocates in different departments and people who are eager to adopt data governance, data culture can really help to actually make company work faster, better, maybe work with data more and actually, develop the company?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's really good if there's a leader who is typically responsible for data, who understands. And I believe currently that CDOs, CDAOs, they understand that data governance is essential enabler for the companies to use data effectively. And we see it from the research that data governance is a very hot topic for CDAOs for in these days. So if CDAO is able to define this hot pain, it can be, what I mentioned, harmonization of the semantic layer, for example, or it can be the mess in the reporting, and this he can really very quickly deliver the value that he can build on. As an example, I can share, for example, we have one really huge company, something like 20,000 employees doing manufacturing, and the initial pain we were focused on was the struggle with business analysis. And because business analysis of analysts, data analysts on the business departments who were translating the requirements to some data specifications, the work was so ineffective. They were struggling to finding where the data for the report that the business needs is, how to combine it, what is valid, what is not. So they really saw the pain of that status. They did the POC with DAWISO, and with just understanding what will be the new approach, they internally estimated that the data analysis in this business analysis will be 6 times more effective. So just understanding this only benefit, they were able to really quickly calculate that it will save a lot of effort. Yeah, so again, to build some successful adoption plan, you need to understand what are the main struggles, where you can deliver the value. And that's something what business will understand and will support you.
So the POC can be also a kind of a solution to start with. If you want to get to know whether it will be successful, whether it will give you money, it can be a good starting point.
Definitely. And we are very often starting with client with it's typically called proof of value. So it's a short micro project, let's call it, where we focus on really understanding, doing the assessment of the current situation, what are the biggest pains, trying to tailor DAWISO to this use case and show really what will be the new process, in what it will be more effective, and really give the company ability to put the hands on and try the new process with DAWISO, how we can support it. And this works really well, better than just showing the slides to the data community that, we will introduce data governance and it will be these new processes. The buy-in with this is very hard. But if you show them really the difference, we are currently doing it in this way. With this new approach, it will be this way. And then the comparison is much more clear and the buy-in of the community is much better. So they will be more probably willing to support you in the production rollout and doing the changes and working with the community.
Thank you, Peter, for telling us about it. And I think that now I would like to get to know a little bit more, how is data governance connected to AI projects? Is there such connection that, for example, a good data governance corresponds with a better or easier AI projects or more successful ones?
Yeah, actually, I believe that this adoption of AI is now helping to improve companies in data governance, actually, because poor data governance is holding companies back in using AI, actually. A very popular term is now AI-ready data. AI-ready data means the data that is well documented, consistently structured, with high quality, security, with clear ownership, clear understanding about how it can be used for AI or not. So AI-ready data, especially the quality and the definition, is something what really holds companies back in using AI much more now linked to good data.
So if we have poor data or poor data governance, it can stop us, or it can be a stopper. I mean, it's not good to invest in AI if you don't have good quality data.
Yeah, definitely the quality of the data, it's one thing. And still companies in general, they are struggling with the data quality. And then you can imagine the situation where you have 2 data assets that is available for the data processing by AI. One is called active client, and it's some number, and it's a good number for, as I mentioned, active client for the definition in the context of risk department can be something, but the number of active customers from the perspective of marketing department can be very different. For AI, it can be quite the same. There is one number called number of active customers, and the second number that is different, and it's number of active customers for the same period. And how should AI decide what is the right data attribute to be used to answer some questions that the business prompts over the data? So you need to support AI with really the understanding, with the semantic model, maybe the business model of the company, to really answer the right answers to the questions of the business.
Okay, and is there any moment that, for example, you decided to tell the company that no, you are not ready, or you don't have enough data to start the process of creating or working with artificial intelligence, that you have to work on it and then you can come back to me, or you can just do something, and then we can talk about it?
Oh, it typically doesn't work in the manner that we will tell you are not so ready. Typically, companies start to adopting AI like very intensively without any control, I would say. Yeah, so currently adoption of AI is like wandering into Wild West, I would say. And they are finding out that it's not so easy. Yeah, they are finding out that in general, the use of AI over the data landscape they have, it's not so straightforward. Typically, it can be very easily used for some particular area, but if you are speaking about really replacing your business analysts or data analysts that are preparing the reports with just the prompt to your data, there needs to be done a lot of work. So we see that companies are finding out that they need to invest in governance, into semantic models, into better description of the data, into improving the data quality. So the companies typically, or these days, they will understand after the initial adoption of AI that they need to improve.
Or after the first failure, I mean, for example, they rely on some data and it turned out that no, it was wrong, and we lost some money, and now we have to think about it more carefully and pay more attention maybe to what we do.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Have you had any such example of the company that they, for example, lost the money and decided to think about it in more respect in mind? Decided to do it properly.
I think within customers, I don't think I have some story like this, how much they lost when applying AI, but you can read a lot of these failures on the market. We are working with a lot with financial institutions, for example. So they are much more afraid of doing such failures. And so they are not so speedy in adopting everything. So it's not this case.
So do they do it step by step and they come to you and you start working with them? Is it possible to hear some successful stories of the companies and their attitude, towards working with data or creating data culture in the company? Do you have such companies in your portfolio?
Yeah, definitely. I like the success story we have in the IG group because it's one of our first customers. And they started initially, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago already. And they started with the first need, what they focus on, and was to bring the one spot for business glossary, data dictionary, and reports. Yeah, because it was split it into SharePoint, some generated HTML documentation, and the report catalog was, I think, in Excel files. So the first idea was, we have actually this information. We just want to put it together and create, they call it a data portal for the data community to self-serve in finding the data. So this was the first release, I would say, of the project where we started. And it was the first success, I would say. There was, or still is, really a great team on the customer side that promotes the whole approach, supports the community, do the trainings, promotes the solutions. So it worked really well. And they were gradually adding another and another information domains. Like they started to do data documentation with DAWISO. They created the DQ repository describing data quality business rules from the business perspective, and also mapping it to precise DQ implementations and findings. They, because of the regulatory requirements, they started to document AI and analytical models they are developing to have clear understanding of which model was used in which computation, which day. Then there was a big move to also the IT world, I would say, because they started 2 years ago the development of a new core system, new insurance core system within the group, and they decided to leverage DAWISO for data modeling as well because of the number of people working on the data model and because of the already present metadata they had in DAWISO. So they were gradually extending this approach in many information domains. And currently, what they were configuring was the support for AI Act, for example. So that was the best example of a customer that starts small and is gradually adding capabilities, covering the domains and information that they manage in DAWISO, and the community see the gradual value that is by doing the practices, having such platform, such data portal as they call it.
Okay, if I may ask, how much time did it take to create such awareness in the company? Because probably it was a process.
Yeah, it's a process. It's a continuous work with the data community, like not only in the matter of governance. I think the team is supporting also adoption of data tools, like supporting the business users to use Power BI, for example. Supporting the independent data teams on the business to develop the data effectively. So data governance is only a small piece or small part of what they provide as a service, as a center of excellence to the data teams and the whole data community. So it's not like you can say it's 20 man days in the first years and exactly to say what is the cost. It's continuous support, I would say, of the internal team, not only in the matter of governance.
Right. So it didn't take just 1 year. It was like 2, 3, 4, maybe 5.
Yeah, the first project is in the matter of, I think it was for 3 months or something like that. So that the first delivery, first value can be in typically months, like a few months only, not like 4 years. And based on that and based on the continuous extension, it can be like never-ending project, I would say, because also the data development in the companies, it's not something that is solved sometimes. It's ongoing process. Business is still requiring new reports, new data sets, new data products. So everything is continuous evolvement, I would say.
And coming back to what you've said before about different departments taking some consideration of data and getting involved in the process, I mean, looking for some solutions to work with data, do you believe that it's the successful story of one department, or for example, the CEO KPIs or reports that can just lead towards the next department paying attention to data and seeing the value in it?
Yeah, definitely. So, and it's, I would say, more typical that maybe it's better to start with data engineers around data warehouse than with data scientists. Yeah, data scientists will be more keen to have their sandbox doing something freedomly. So, and typically the teams responsible for data warehousing, doing data engineering, they will be more responsible to produce something what is used by other teams. So they will understand the requirement of proper governance more easily, maybe. So also in the business, if the business department is very advanced, like risk departments, for example, in the banks, they are quite advanced. They like to have their own playgrounds, let's say. So it's maybe better to start with finance department, typically. And if you deliver the value to the finance, then marketing will follow, sales will as well follow, and in the end also risk department will follow them. So again, it's good to think a little bit also politically, strategically.
Yeah, so it's coming back to what you've said before, actually, because you were mentioning that actually financial department is the one that we can start with, or CEO or CFO maybe.
Yeah, but CEO, you hit the point, is also a good role to start it, because CEOs now they understand very clearly that companies are now much more IT companies in general, like doing different type of businesses. The companies are now driven by IT systems, by data they have, by information that they process. So some form of data strategy is typically in somewhere in the company strategy. And if you hook on that correctly, and you understand that there is a clear link that if you want to build a company that is driven by data, like a library,
Yes, structured library.
you cannot drive it based on some naive approach in managing the data. So the CEO will and can understand very easily also the importance of the data culture.
Yes, thank you. And actually, thank you for this comparison to library, because I think it works with the business too, and it shows how important the data is when you want to consider all the advancements and improvements or the usage of AI. Well, thinking about this, I'm also considering how actually we can sell all this improvement in the data culture within the company, or how we can sell also this to CEO, that if he's not like into it, thinking about the data, how we can sell him, this idea that data is important and the data culture is something you should base your company on.
Currently, what we see is that in current days, companies, they have some bad experience of improper governance or naive data governance approach already. So we see that we have clients or prospects coming to us when they are developing the second or third evolution or third try of data warehouse or something like that, or data solution, because the current data solution is not manageable. The guy who is behind that left the company, and they are struggling with this. So they much more understand the pain they have, and they are much more willing to invest into proper governance, data governance processes. So that's one thing, that company can be quite ready and quite aware of it, and will in this time they want to invest into that from the beginning.
It's interesting that they still want to invest, Peter. Yeah. So because if you say that they have this experience, the bad one, and they understand still, that this is something we have to change. We have to work with data. We have to do something to have some maybe better income, or
Yeah. But I think it's not a problem on the market. It's early companies are eager to do something with data everywhere. It's if they don't invest into leveraging the data they have, they will be eaten by competition. Yeah? So they understand exactly that they need to invest into leveraging data. Maybe 10 years ago, they were not so aware of investing into proper governance. So that's why the data warehouses after 5 years, 10 years are not manageable. A lot of spaghetti code, that cannot be developed in the future. So they are on the investment phase to another new data solution, typically linked with also the cloud. So new data solution in the cloud. And they might be much more aware of investing into proper data governance processes. But if there is not this situation, still you can find some pains, as we discussed, that are in the company. Like there is a pain of managing all the data for the KPIs. There is the pain of the data community talking about data, because different people understand different definitions on the same business terms. There might be a real problem of new employees, onboarding new employees, like if data analyst needs 2 years to learn where the data is and how can they get into to them. So it's also something what is a pain and very big inefficiency. So it's good to do the first assessment in the data governance, understanding on what maturity level the company is, in which dimension, and focus on the biggest pains.
So coming back to the data and AI, I'm really curious because as we've mentioned before, you work with the product. Yeah, you've got your own product. So do you and your company also put some AI into DAWISO, or is DAWISO AI free?
No, it's not AI free. We are using LLMs AI to help the user with some actions that he does in DAWISO. So we have several use cases for LLM already in the product, and we're developing some new one. What is currently available, and it's somehow nice to be mentioned, it's, for example, AI-assisted writing. So you can imagine when you want to write a definition of a business term, for example, you will struggle with the empty window and to start to propose the definition. And AI is actually very good in proposing such definitions, and people are quite good in enhancing the definition, not writing it from scratch. So this assisted writing is very good, and we have several use cases of that to help you to make it shorter, longer, make it more formal, for example, or translate it. So it's quite a straightforward use case for AI, and AI is currently very, very good at this. Then we use AI, for example, for doing automated summaries. Yeah, that's also the use case that's very, very, with very valuable output. Or we can, for example, propose the domains from the data with also the definitions when we scan for the database. So these are quite straightforward use cases. We have currently also the chatbot, something like that. So you don't need to go to DAWISO and do this typical search through Google, something like Googling the data. You can also, for example, in Slack, where you have linked DAWISO chatbot, you can ask directly about some question about data at the DAWISO bot, and it will help you quickly to answer it, and it will give you the links to DAWISO to find it easily. So that's also something very practical, I would say.
Okay, sorry to interrupt, but do you have also this kind of chatbot that works for help desk of DAWISO as well?
Yeah, for helpdesk as well. Okay, it's because our helpdesk is actually based on DAWISO instance, so it's another implementation of DAWISO, so it's automatically available for that as well. But the customer instance can be enabled for this DAWISO bot as well, and they can prompt it directly. We are currently developing several other use cases, like for example, we have now the capabilities that are linked to business modeling, for example. So the users can build a business model of the company, something like conceptual model, for example, or the process model. And we want to help with AI also with this task. So just giving DAWISO the description of the business, we can propose some structured representation for this. Or another use case is that, for example, when we are onboarding a new company and they don't have any business glossary, they need to build it. So we can quite easily use AI to propose the typical business term that such company can have. But if we also gather the documentation that the company has, like standard operating procedures or some governed documentation, based on this with AI, we can propose the business glossary terms and rules and other types of objects based on the precise definitions that we can find in the documentation with AI. So yeah, we are gradually adding another use cases, trying to find really valuable use cases for the user that can speed up the adoption, save some effort of the users.
Do you also, if I may ask, of course, do you also have this kind of an AI agent that works for you? I mean, on your data and what the customer says, what the customers say about it, and then you decide on the project or on a new AI agent, or how do you do it? How do you estimate which way to go?
Yeah, we typically do this development of new critical capabilities with the clients. And so we work with them intensively in this early adoption model, and we are involving them really for the first releases of the new capabilities, because it's always better than to develop it without the real customer. Yeah, and then not hitting the nail. Yeah, so we have really nice customers, very cooperative customers that are huge enterprises, and they are quite ahead of the market in data governance and information management, and they work with us cooperatively on these new features.
So it's like win-win, yeah? They have
Yeah.
features they need, and you've got the info what the market needs.
Yeah, definitely. They have it very early, and it's available and it works for them from the first release, and we have the real user. It's not artificial use case.
So something that is the beginning for one company becomes something accessible for the others. Am I right? Do
Yeah.
do it like that?
Yeah. So all the use cases we developed or all the changes are for all of the clients. Yeah, it's still the same product. DAWISO is very configurable for different use cases. So yeah, we can talk about specific use cases for some very specific clients, but in general, like mentioning these AI capabilities or AI use cases we implement, we always consider if it's a use case that is useful for majority of our customers. Yeah, so that is also something what comes into the prioritization of these new capabilities.
Yeah, for me it was really interesting talking to you, Peter. But we are coming back to the end. Talking about the end, we usually ask our guests and our experts what the future is going to bring us. So I think that my question to you would be to tell me what's your predictions when it comes to data and AI and, of course, the governance in the coming years? What's in front of us?
In coming years, I'm glad you haven't said in 10 years, because I think it will change a lot in coming years. From the technological perspective, the technology stacks are changing a lot. Hyperscalers are eating the market too. And we are watching that where is our value next to them. In general, the adoption of AI will be dramatic, I would say, in all the aspects of data management, information management, how companies are operated. And so it's hard to say how it will evolve. I think much more use cases of AI, as I was mentioning some of them, there will be a lot of them in many tools. And also the practices that are now will probably change a lot. So for example, data governance and the role of the business of the data owner, data steward, maybe some other roles that are defined in DAMA, for example, it will change heavily, and it will be much more agentic governance, data governance, and maybe the data owner will have agentic roles that will help him to manage the data in the future. So yeah, I think it will be a lot of changes. We are trying to understand it a little bit, but I believe nobody has the clue what will be in 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. But do you believe in a positive future or rather negative one? What's your idea?
Yeah, I'm quite positive or try to be positive. So I believe it's maybe not talking about next 3 years. It will be definitely, I believe, positive in 3 years how the whole domain, data and information management will evolve, and much more effectivity will be brought by AI. So
it will be more mature for sure. Yeah, in this 3 years time, and not so hype. Of course, it's changing. Yeah, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, that a lot is going to change for sure. Well, Peter, thank you so much for being here with us, and thank you to all our listeners for being with us during this journey with Peter. Well, I hope it's not our last meeting here. It was a real pleasure to talk up to you and to listen about data governance and data culture and how to incorporate it into our companies. Well, thank you so much.
thank you, Anna, very much. It was an honor. Thank you for having me.